Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Carol, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you guys the process that I went through applying for my student visa to Poland, and I'm also going to be sharing with you guys what is required of you when you apply for your student visa. A few months ago I did a video about what it was like living in Poland, and after making that video a couple of people reached out to me asking me how I went about the process and what was required and all that stuff. So I just thought let me just do this video, because in the process I did make quite a few mistakes I'll tell you about in the video. So I do hope that you enjoy it, but most importantly I do hope that you find this video quite useful, and if you do, please do click the subscribe button. So before getting into the video, I just want to put a disclaimer out there that I'm not affiliated with any agency or institution. I'm just doing this video based off my experience, because I did do the process on my own and I had to figure out things as I go. Other thing is that I applied for my visa coming from Zimbabwe, so if you're not from the southern part of Africa, maybe the requirements will be different. And I also want to add that I applied for my visa 15 months ago, so maybe things have changed. So in addition to this video, please do your own research and just make sure that it's still the same. So obviously, if you're applying for a student visa, the first thing that you need is your acceptance letter. Now, to get this letter, you obviously have to apply, and when they have accepted you, you will get what is called a conditional offer letter. After you get that, you also then get your unconditional offer letter. What you use to apply for your visa is the unconditional offer letter. The basis of getting this unconditional offer letter obviously will vary from university to university. As for me, I had to submit my doctor's report that stated that I was fit to study abroad. I also had to submit a document that said that I could study in English and I was capable of studying and understanding English. I also had to submit my transcript, my O and A level transcript, and I had to pay my full tuition fees. You just check with your university, they'll obviously tell you what is required to get that unconditional acceptance letter. After you've received your acceptance letter, the next step is to apply for your visa through the Polish embassy website. This process is what's going to allow you to get an appointment to submit your supporting documents and your application form in person. Once you've filled out your online application form, make sure you download it and you save it, because it will be required when you submit your other supporting documents. They will not take your documents without this application form. It is the most important thing. So make sure that you download it and you sign it when you submit your application. While we're talking about booking your visa appointments, the thing that I want to stress to you guys is to ensure that you start your application process at the very least 3 months before your semester begins. The reason being that in Zimbabwe we do not have a Polish embassy, so you will have to go to South Africa to submit your application, and those dates are almost always so booked. So if you're lucky, you're going to get a submission date that's going to be a month from the day that you submit your online application, and then you add on the time that it's going to take to process your visa. So you can already see that it's going to be a process that will take some time, so make sure that you do your things in time. I made the mistake of doing my online application a month before school started, and I had to be late for school. In the event that you're going to make your application late and you're not going to make it to school in time, you're going to need to obtain a letter from your university that says that it's okay for you to enroll late. Because in my case, I think I ended up submitting my application on the day that school was going to start. So make sure that you have that letter from your university that says it's okay for you if you come maybe a month late, or whatever time it's going to take for you to process your visa. Because if you don't have that letter, again, you're not going to accept your submission. Next thing is to ensure that your transcripts are legalized at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in your country. The Polish embassy requires that this be done, I guess because they want to make sure that your documents are real, your certificates are real and not fake. So make sure that you have your certificates legalized at that ministry, or else again they would not accept your documents. And then I'll also say that your transcript will be legalized twice, once in your country and once at the Polish embassy. So you need to make sure that before you leave your country and when you get your visa, make sure that your transcript have been legalized at the Polish embassy. And this is a paid for service, and it's very important as well. Like I said before, I made mistakes along the way, and one of the mistakes that I did was I didn't get my transcripts legalized at the Polish embassy when I submitted my application. So I had to do this when I got my visa. I had them legalized, but they're not going to be legalized instantly. So I had to then find a courier that would then send them to me to Poland. So I think it'll be easier for you when you submit your visa application at the very same time. Also pay for the service to have your transcripts legalized at the Polish embassy. That way, when you come and collect your visa, you also get your transcript and you don't have to have the hassle of trying to get a courier to send you these things to you. This is a long list. You might need to get a glass of water or something. We might be here for a while. So the next thing that you will need is a letter of eligibility from your Ministry of Education. This is basically a letter that says that you've passed all the criteria and you are eligible to go to university. That is, you've done your O levels and A levels. So when you go to the Ministry of Education, make sure that you take your transcripts with you, because they will not give you the letter without your transcripts. This thing that you need to submit is a motivation letter. This is you basically just saying why you would like to study in Poland, why it's important to you. So be creative with it. I honestly don't think they read these letters, but yeah, just sell yourself, market yourself. If you want them to feel sorry for you, which is I think what I did, make them feel sorry for you, just be creative with it and just explain why it would mean a lot to you to study in Poland. And then after that, you will also need to have proof of accommodation, which for me came with my letter of acceptance. When I applied to my university, I was assigned a dormitory. That is where I stayed for the first few months that I was in Poland. I stayed in a dormitory. So for me, it was 2 birds, 1 stone. If you would like to have private accommodation, then what you need to submit is your lease agreement. So potato, potato, just make sure that you submit something that says when you get to Poland, you're going to have a place to stay. So the next couple of requirements have to do with your finances, as to just you proving that you can finance yourself, that you're not going to be homeless in Poland, that you can afford to study in Poland and live comfortably. At my big age, my dad was my sponsor, so I had to submit his documents, and I'm just going to take you through what we submitted. So the next thing that we had to submit was a document that stated the relationship between me and my sponsor, that is my dad. And listen, the thing about the Polish embassy is they're not just going to take documents as they are. The first document that we submitted was an affidavit that just was commissioned by a commissioner of arts. They said, no, we don't want this. Make sure that you bring a document that is notarized and apostilled by a high court. So we had to redo that and make sure that it was notarized and apostilled. So make sure that you do the right thing with those documents. So the next thing we had to submit was a letter from his bank that just stated that he was indeed the owner of this account and that the account was active. We also had to submit bank statements of 3 months, dating 3 months back, with the specific minimum amount that they had specified. We also had to submit a letter of employment. We had to submit his pay slips for the last 3 months to just make sure that he has a consistent source of income. Next couple of requirements, I have categorized them as my travel requirements, and these are things like your medical insurance, which has to be valid for a year, and you need to make sure that it is going to work in the Schengen areas. It's very important to make sure that it works in the Schengen areas, and also it has to have a minimum coverage of 30,000 euros. So just take note of that. Obviously, you will need your passport and the photocopy of your passport, not the photocopy of your whole passport, just the page with your details. So you need to submit your original birth certificate and the photocopy of that as well. Passport sized photographs, and make sure that these photographs fit. When you fill out your online application form, there is a little square, so make sure that the photographs that you submit are the same size as the designated area on your application. Lastly, you will need to submit your travel itinerary. Now this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to book your travel and make your reservations. No, you just need to go to your travel agency, any travel agency in your country, and then you tell them the dates that you intend to travel and they'll make an itinerary for you. You don't necessarily have to book the flight, and it doesn't make sense. So yeah, just make sure that your itinerary is going to match the dates that you have put in your application form, because they will ask you in the application when you intend to travel. So just make sure that your flight reservation, the dates match the ones that you've put in your application form. Those are the requirements that I personally submitted when I was applying for my visa. It actually did take quite a bit of time, because the thing about the Polish embassy, I don't know if they have changed, but if you submit something wrong, they will not take your documents. They will tell you, no, go and correct it and come with the right things. So in addition to my application being 1 month late, like submitting on the day that I was supposed to start school, I had about another 2 weeks or so that I went back and forth from the embassy, them telling me, no, this is not right, go and change it. No, this is not right, go and change it. So yeah, I honestly do think that if you just follow through this, I will also link to the South African embassy in my description box. You just go and check that out and make sure that you go through everything. Like if you really go through everything that they state, you're not going to have problems. I think for me it was just an issue of negligence, where I thought, well, because I did this, do I need to do that? So just make sure that you do everything as specified. And yeah, that's it. If you are really planning on coming to Poland, I do wish you all the best in your application. And if you are also serious about coming to Poland, please do check out my video where I talk about my experience here. But just don't watch the video, also take time to read the comments, because I do read the comments and they are quite insightful. So just make sure you do check that out. I would link it also in the description box and in my end screen. And yeah, that's it from me for now. I will catch you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe and like.